Welcome to the GTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose. Despite Cayman's adherence to international tax transparency standards, one financial services expert says rhetoric from politicians and mudslinging in the foreign press could leave a stain on the industry if a positive PR campaign is not embarked upon in its defense.
We have the wrong people leading the public relations initiatives here. And they are significantly under-resourced.
Financial services expert Anthony Travers says Cayman's public relations machine needs to go to war against misinformation about the jurisdiction in the wake of the Panama Papers scandal.
Now, Mr. Travers says the Cayman Islands is far from being just another sunny place for shady people to hide from the taxman. He says the jurisdiction's adherence to international tax reporting standards laid out by the CRS puts our jurisdiction in clear contrast to other financial centers like Panama.
So we see this very clear divide between the sort of covert transactions which are being structured through jurisdictions like Panama on the one hand, and the legitimate transactions that are being structured in jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands.
Mr. Travers says negative media reports and political rhetoric are nearing a crescendo.
We now find that the opprobrium that is being directed at Panama is catching the Cayman Islands. And so that the mud that is being thrown is sticking here too, at least insofar as the political comments that are being made in the United Kingdom and other jurisdictions is concerned.
He says Cayman's public relations campaign needs more muscle to fight the misconceptions that he says could damage the fabric of our economy.
Technically, we have the state-of-the-art global standard with regard to tax transparency. It's a failure of our public relations campaigns, where no impact whatsoever has been made on these points in the eyes of the global press.
He says without action against the rhetoric, Cayman stands to lose. Joe Avery, Cayman 27.
As anger continues to mount against Trinidad and Tobago over a protracted immigration and trade gridlock, the Jamaican government is being urged to stop talking and act, a Gleaner report says. "We have talked for too long," declared Mitri Siaga, president of the Jamaica Manufacturers Association, as he addressed a Gleaner Editors Forum held at the newspaper's North Street Kingston offices. The focus of the forum was on the upcoming Expo Jamaica 2016, scheduled for April 14th to the 17th. But Siaga took time out to respond to the concerns regarding the country's relationship with Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in light of recent complaints about ill treatment of Jamaicans denied entry into the Twin Island Republic. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith has already launched a probe into the reports, and William Mahfood, president of the private sector organization of Jamaica, has called for a boycott of that country's exports. However, when the matter was raised about what has become a sore issue in Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago's largest trading partner in the region, Siaga declared that something has to give. Burletta Henlon Forrester, manager responsible for development, agriculture, and non-food manufacturing at Jampro, said after a screening process, she expected at least 5 teams from Trinidad and Tobago to attend the Jamaican Expo at the National Arena Indoor Sports Center in St. Andrew in Kingston. Approximately 500 booths and a multitude of local products are expected to be showcased at the 3-day event. Led by former Foreign Affairs and Trade Minister A.J. Nicholson, the previous administration was engaged in talks to address concerns raised by Jamaicans. This was after scores of their compatriots were turned away under questionable circumstances at the Piarco Airport in Trinidad and Tobago 2 years ago. The OECS Commission has joined individuals, organizations, and governments around the Caribbean and beyond in congratulating the proud men and women of our T20 West Indies teams for their remarkable performances in becoming the ICC 2020 World Cup champions. The OECS Commission says history will record the heroic contribution of our OECS nationals, who exemplified the highest standards of sportsmanship and commitment, and who contributed towards the performance of our victorious teams. The commission saluted the contribution of OECS citizens, West Indies men's T20 captain Darren Sammy, Andre Fletcher, Johnson Charles, and Afi Samantha Fletcher from the T20 women's team. The OECS Commission also congratulated OECS youth cricketers whose passion for success and love for the game helped steer the West Indies to victory at the 2016 ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup earlier this year. They are Alzari Joseph, Ryan John, Emmanuel Stewart, Gidron Pope, and Obed McCoy. The OECS Commission says their fighting team spirit has inspired Caribbean people at home and abroad, and is a timely reminder that we can always win when we are united, purposeful, and determined. And finally, in this week's Caribbean News segment, the St. Lucia government has renamed the island's main venue for international cricket matches, Boseju Stadium, in honor of Darren Sammy, who captained the victorious West Indies ICC T20 World Cup team. The announcement came after Sammy and Johnson Charles returned home from India. A pavilion at the cricket ground, which has hosted international matches since 2002, will also be renamed in honor of Charles. Sammy and Johnson received a hero's welcome when they touched down at the Hewanora International Airport in St. Lucia. That's it for the JTV Caribbean News. I am Sean Rose.
And coming up next on JTV News. Government is putting measures in place to ensure that signs of abuse among children do not go unreported. Managing Director at CTL, Michael Thomas, celebrates the company's 49-year journey and says the new CTL store is a labor of love. And British Virgin Islands gospel artist Tracia Peterson wins 2 gospel music awards.